Good morning, welcome to Pain-Free Posture. We will start today in a comfortable seat with some breath work. So find your seat and we'll just do 3 rounds of Wim Hof 10 breaths with some breath holds, and we'll work the first one at 15 seconds, the second breath hold at 30 seconds, and the last one at 45 seconds. And we'll just work on getting that to be held a little longer. So go ahead and just be in your seat and feel your rib cage, and then take a deep breath in, exhale all the air out, squeeze the rib cage, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, like a circle, exhale. You can do in and out through your nose, or in through your nose, out through your mouth, however you want. In, out, fully in, out, fully in, fully out. 3 more breaths. 1, 2, and 3. With a 15-second hold on the out breath, push all the air out, hold it 15 seconds. You can keep pushing more air out as you're there. And if you get some tingles in your hands or your feet, that's a good thing. Take a full breath. Breathe normally for a moment. So our nerve that goes out from our neck down into our diaphragm does exactly that. So you can think about when we have this text neck posture, what that does to the space where the nerve needs to move to be able to connect into our breathing muscle. And so what's happening is that this weakness, or holding the traps, the trapezius muscle from the occiput down here, is just on all the time and getting lactic acid and stuff in there when we spend so much time this way, and effectively shutting down our breathing. So bring your head over your shoulders, make room for the nerve that connects, that's the power supply into your diaphragm, and let's do round 2, 10 breaths. Ready? Fully in, fully out. In and out. In and out. In, out. In, out. In, out. In, out. In, out. In, out. This time hold it. 30 seconds. If you need to breathe before you have to, you may, but try to get to 30 seconds. Push the air out a little more. Notice what your mind is doing to tell you to breathe. What's the voice in your head that starts to say, you need to breathe, you need to breathe? Can you override that for just a little bit? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, breathe. Nice job. Okay, 1 more round. Maybe do a little bit of neck opening. Open up that space, move your traps around, bring some new blood into that space. Get really seated in your seat again. Last round of 10. Fully in. Expand the space between the ribs, this place right here, this triangle. Exhale completely. In. In through your nose, expanding your lungs. Exhale. in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. 5 more. In, out, in, out, in, out. 2 more. In, out. If you notice you're a little lightheaded, that's okay. In, out. Last one. 45-second hold. In breath. Squeeze all the air out and hold the breath. Be right here. Stay in the moment. Have the awareness of your body, of your mind. Notice what's right here. Squeeze more air out. You got this. You had more air in your lungs, more air, oxygen in your body. Hold this a little longer. 10 seconds. And breathe. Nice job. Okay, come to standing. Oh, if you want to practice this, in the lifespan book that was there, getting up without your hands was one of the tests of longevity. We've done it before, but if you want to be able to practice that,
becomes dead then.
you can.
I'm already dead.
Okay. Go ahead and come to the wall, feet at the wall. Line up your load joints and just notice, if you're somebody that's on your computer or your phone a lot, how far back does your head need to go to have your ears over your shoulders, over your rib cage and hips, knees and ankles. Working on just hanging out here so that the body gets a chance to redo those guide wires that hold you up, because certainly the all around the neck that keeps our head above our shoulders, if we're in this position, is really different. And what we're seeing is kids and teenagers and adults that have completely changed their posture or adapted to a new posture, because that's what the body does with the use of this device, this many hours of forward leaning or looking down. So we definitely need to spend some time making sure that the head comes back, maybe some more time gently looking up if we can use those muscles again, so we at least move back the other direction. All right, and these trap muscles, I said, when they are just working to hold your head on, staying connected to your body, they're never turning off. And those muscles will fatigue, lactic acid will get there, they'll start to hurt. So people will say, oh, I have a lot of stress in my shoulders, and maybe that's true, or maybe it's just because your head is forward all day long and your muscles never get a break. So, arms out to the side, over to one side, shorten. Let the nerves that go on this side shorten and have space so that the head can go over, come on up, and over to the other side. And just notice, is it balanced? Is it different? Sometimes we have like a crossbody syndrome. So if one side of your neck is tighter, it may be that the other hip doesn't stabilize as well. Or maybe you have something going on the same side that is compensating for something that's not stabilizing well. That's part of Pete's genius. The site of the pain often isn't the problem. Sometimes it's a compensation for something else that's going on in the body. Good. Now traps. Slide them up and push them down 10 times. Bringing your head back to the wall, ears over shoulders, over hips, and then see if you can just wiggle your knees a little bit. Are you standing at the wall with your knees totally locked? Is that part of the strategy that you've gotten to create some extra tone in your body? And can you jazz knees, move them around a little bit to let that go, and then go back to your traps. Slide them up, push them down. Awesome. Bring your arms out so they're just slightly away from your body. Feel your shoulder blades stabilize, and then externally rotate that arm bone all the way out. Press your hand into the wall. Fire your mid traps again, both sides in between your shoulder blades. Those are muscles that help keep the shoulder blades on your back. And if they're working, maybe it changes something all the way down into your hip. I just felt my hamstring grab a little bit. That's a muscle that isn't working quite as well as I would like it to on my right leg, that knee side. So for it to just turn on means that something aligned in my back a little better. And then bring them in just to your belly and out. The rotation right now we're asking for is in the arm bone, using the wall to keep everything else stable. See if you can keep it all stable and still breathe. Okay, come to kneeling. Let's put a little bit of length on the front of the hips. Double pad your knees if you need to. And then just notice as you come into a kneeling position, what happens to the position of your pelvis? Do you have a big arch in your back? Is it arched? You could even feel your back. Is it arched more on one side than the other? Like, do you have a tighter quad or a tighter hip flexor? How about everybody, just see if you can do a couple pelvic tilts here. So with the rectus femoris lengthened and the psoas being held kind of in a lengthened position, can you tuck your tailbone? And you may need to move your knees slightly out to the side to feel that, but find a place where your pelvis can gently move, even if it just moves a little bit. Can you tuck your tailbone down and then let it come back out and down? So we're lengthening that thigh muscle. And perhaps that changes even into the pelvic floor. Let it go back. So you can add a pelvic floor squeeze. Think of the diamond shape between your sit bones, your tailbone, and your pubic bone, and let that, like a kegel, squeeze all the way together, pelvic floor tight, and then let it expand a little bit as you let the arch come back to your tailbone. Good. And then see if you can get it to work on both sides. Tuck your tailbone, let that shape get more narrow. Draw the pelvic floor up, and then release. Good. Down. A few more of those. And just also notice that quad. So I have a quad on this right side that is definitely tighter than the left. So as I go to do that, it wants to pull my pelvis into staying anterior on the right and posterior on the left. So I have to like coax this side a little bit. Come on, tailbone down, sit bone down, and then let it go back. Good. Stay here. Try to find your butt muscles now. Squeeze and release release your glutes. Tighten and release. And again, the glutes and the hip flexors and the abdominals work all together, kind of agonist-antagonist muscles. So if you have a tight quad and maybe a loose abdominal muscle, then that will go forward. It'll be harder for the glute to squeeze. So find where you can just squeeze your butt muscles, tighten, release, and see if both sides can work. When your butt muscles squeeze, it generally pulls your pelvis into a neutral position. So that's neutral for you, usually. Squeeze, release. And you can put your hands right on your bum, make sure both sides are working. Squeeze, release. And if you can't get it, then maybe move your knees slightly wider. That little bit of abduction helps the butt muscle by shortening just a little bit, so it gives it an advantage. Squeeze and release. More. Excellent. Come down onto your belly and grab your blocks. And we'll go into a floor block. So we'll use the length that we just found in the front of your thighs. Hands in the golfer's grip, so palm open but fingers curled into your palm. Tighten that up, and then let those arms be up on your blocks. If that's a lot for you, the lat has to lengthen, the shoulder blade has to be in full rotation. Tuck your front ribs under just a little bit, so that the floor gets to hold the gentle rounding of your thoracic back. And then rotate your upper arm bone outwards so that we're getting rotation in the shoulder as well as rotation in the scapula. And then just breathe. Let your head relax down. Hold this for about 30 seconds more. Try to touch your fingers to your palm. Okay, before we move our arms, let's do a nerve floss here. So sciatic nerve floss, lift your head up off the floor, let your forehead go down as your right leg comes up, and then let your head come up, look up as your leg goes down. Imagine you're pulling the nerve from the top of your head down through your hip, shortening it at the side of your foot, and then bringing it back down. Good. The power supply from your low back all the way down through your butt into the muscles of your foot and your leg, making sure that that nerve can slide through the straw. Opening a pathway. Good. Second side. Down and up. We might also be getting some of that nerve that goes into the diaphragm, just because it also comes through our head. Okay, now we're going to change this floss to the front of your leg. So the femoral nerve, that comes a little bit higher up in your back from L2 and 3, so up here more, and comes around to the front. Sometimes if people have pain in the front of the thigh, it can be because of that one. So we're going to do that one by bringing the foot and the head toward each other at the same time, and then move it away from each other, so down that way. Then back up, head and foot toward each other, and foot and head down. One more. And then second side, left foot and head toward each other, head and foot down. Foot and head toward each other, and down. Awesome. Now bring your arms out to the side, same golfer's grip, rotate the upper arm bone back. Keep the belly down, ribs tucked under to honor the thoracic curve, the middle curve, and then keep the curve in your neck and your low back. And breathe. If you were having a disc issue, just an exercise like this for the 6 or so minutes that we're going to be here can help move the pressurized part of the disc back toward the center and allow a scab to start to be created on the outside of the annulus of the disc. So it could move it away from the nerve. So if the first thing to do if you're ever having pain that way is to just come down and lie on your belly and see if that offers some relief. Go out, straight out from your shoulders. If you can't lie down on your belly when you're having sciatic pain, then try lying on your back in static back. Those would be 2 things to do right away. Ribs stay down, arms rotate back, hold and breathe. Find your diaphragm here. Feel that space that we've been working on in the ribs. See if you can fill it up into your back body. And release. Go ahead and put your blocks away. Press up onto your hands and knees. Round and arch your back. Cats and dogs. We're going to work on our feet a little bit here. So from this position, I want you to pull the ankle up and let your toes curl under. And just use the floor to let that happen. So the mid-foot or the arch of the foot is often where problems occur when you have flat feet or when you have too high of arches. Then that can be a place where plantar fasciitis, where there's like a little tearing in the fascia. And usually that's because the muscles of the midfoot aren't doing their job as well as they need to. So go ahead and let your feet go back out, flatten the ankle, and then lift the ankle, curl the toes, and think about finding the muscles in that midfoot. And then let them go back out and pull them back up 10 times. And as you do that, maybe you notice some gripping in your hips. Great, now tuck your toes the other way and just give them a little bit of a stretch. Try and spread your toes as wide apart as you can. See if you can even pull them under enough that your pinky toe can go down. And just go back and forth like that a couple times. Tuck them under, pull them back. Good. Now I want you to move the leg from this middle part, and that's a interesting place right at the knee to have control, but it's control of the hamstring. So fold your ankles so that they come together and then push them back out, but make that rotation happen right behind the knee. So you have some muscles that can rotate right there, yep, behind the knee. And they work up into the hamstring tendon. So lower leg, in and out. Awesome. Stretch your right leg out straight, hold your body stable, point and flex your foot. So knee all the way tight, thigh tight, butt active, and then point and flex, keeping that leg as straight as possible. Good, now bend the knee, keep it up, circle the ankle. And reverse. And then one more position, hold that leg out, parallel to the floor, hold it stable, point and flex, 10 more. Really keep that leg up. Kind of like that fire hydrant position, body stable, everything working, point and flex that foot, all the way. See if you can get that ankle to pull. I can see my foot wants to go out a little bit. Do your best to pull that foot in line with your shin. Keep that 90-degree angle in your body. And release. Awesome. Give your hands a quick break. You're welcome to go down onto your elbows if this is too much for your wrist, or you could also set up your blocks so that you're on your elbows but you're still not losing the height. So, or this way. Just watch your stability there. All of those are fine options. Okay, second side. Stretch that leg back behind you, hold it. With your wrist, if you're staying on your hands, remember that your hands are really active. So the pad of the pinky and the pad of the thumb can squeeze toward each other to create a lift at the middle of the hand and the arch of the wrist. And that will keep that strength there. So point and flex, knee tight. Check your leg. Are you kind of straight up and down on the knee that you're on? Bend the knee, 20 circles. Holding that 90-degree angle. Let's look up just because it's that other direction from our text neck. Lengthen your chin forward. You can open and close your mouth a couple times. Reverse if you haven't. Awesome. Hold that leg out to the side, keep it parallel to the floor. Point and flex. 20 times. When you've done 20, release it down and do a set of cats and dogs. Nice job. seat, fold one leg in and one leg out. From this position, take your back leg and lift it up and down. Now, if something is stopping you, ask yourself that question. What's stopping me? Is it joint capsule? Is it bone hitting bone? So if you had femoral acetabular impingement, FAI, you may have bone that's grown down into this space. This may not be a position that works for you. If you were to hang out like this and do this lift, it might just hit bone to bone, and it could be grinding on the labrum if you still even have the labrum intact, if you have that kind of syndrome in that hip. So listen to your body, please. And if what's stopping you is pain, please stop. Good. Switch. Sit into that side, and if it works for you, lift and lower. I'm going to use my mat and go a little more this way. So similar position, but 90 degrees with both of my legs. And then I'm just going to lean forward over that front leg and then use this outer hip, the right outer hip, to press myself back up. You can use your hands, but we're trying to open that outer hip a little bit by engaging those tissues. Lean forward. In a straight spine, and then push back up. It could feel better to you to have this leg more straight back, so you're more moving in toward a pigeon type position. To do that, you get a little more length on that back hip flexor. That's an option here. Switch sides. Take it in and out. 90-90 with your legs. And then from the spine, draw forward. Breathe. And then use the outer hip of that left leg to press yourself back up. Your option again, taking that leg back, lengthening the hip flexor a bit more, and doing the same thing, pressing through that outer foot, down and up. And release. place your left leg forward, bend into the knee. You can take one block and put it under your heel if you like, and go forward. Let the knees go over your toes, and just come back. Forward and back. So strengthen the pelvic ring. Imagine that there's a belt around your hips, and as you go and open the hip flexor, keep the pelvic ring intact and tight so that the leg bone gets to go behind you without pulling your whole pelvis way forward. Awesome. Switch sides. Knee over toes, letting that knee go all the way into flexion as far as it will go, and then just come back. Again, tight through your pelvis, stable. Go ahead and draw it forward and back. Round and arch one more time, cats and dog. And then let's work on some push-ups today. You may choose however you want them. We'll check that. Sid, I just saw that come up and then oh, she's got to leave early. Bye, Sid. Okay. So push-ups. Push-ups can happen from this position right here, knees bent, hips in the air, down and up. They can happen with your hips more open, or they can happen with your feet on the floor. However you are, find stability and a little bit of rounding at your upper back. Scapula stability here, and then let the arms go into that bent position and press back up. Keeping the shoulder blades pretty stable as you move. Take a break after one set. Let's do one more. If a plank feels appropriate for you, or a plank on your knees, do that. Job. Grab your block, place it on your side, take your hip up on that block, working into that side plank. Press through your shoulder so that it's working, beginning to learn how to bear load, and your obliques are stabilizing on that underside. Now, can you
split your feet like they're a scissor. It doesn't have to go very far. Bring them back together and then do the other way. Letting everything in your upper body stay stable while your legs do that one forward, one back. You can play with feet flexing, feet pointed. Good. Bring this arm up. Take this arm over your head. That shoulder has to really move. Good, and back in. And up and over. Feeling all of those spinal stabilizers working. And just because we're side loaded here, let's do that little bit of neck work. So let your head go back. Keeping your head sideways, not looking up toward the ceiling, but going back and forward, just like you're tipping your head back and forward. It's going to work one side a lot more than the other. And release out of it. Awesome. Switch sides. Hip or leg up on your block, shoulder on the ground, stabilize. It's very common, especially if there's a little bit of scoliosis, for one side to be much more difficult than the other. Even just keeping your hips and shoulders in alignment. But you can think about how that is when you're moving or walking if it's just hard here. And then one forward, one back. Play with your feet a little bit if you want to, pointing and flexing. Good. Stabilize. Hold. Breathe. Arm over. And up. Building endurance into the spine, into the shoulder. The shoulder can move a little more freely because gravity's acting different on it now. Okay, stabilize head, back, and forward. Woo, does that change your balance as your eyes don't have a horizon line defined? Awesome. Release out of that. Downward facing dog pose. Tuck your toes under. Knees bent if you choose it. Press up and back. Let your heels come down to the ground. Feel the fascia change as you wiggle a little bit. Maybe moving towards legs straight. Draw the belly up and in. Then take some deep breaths in your rib cage, those same Wim Hof type breaths. Or in yoga, that Ujjayi breath. to your hands. Come all the way to standing.
You can just take a moment and feel that. Does that feel more stable? Like there's a new position? Maybe move your head around a bit. Let's do a little bit of balance today before we end. Grab your blocks. You could have different levels of this. This could be your first level, is just hold your blocks, take your leg back behind you, and try to make it in line with your body. Your second level would be to come up and down, controlling that like a pendulum, as if you were going to bend down to pick up a golf ball and stand back up. That keeps pretty good spine hygiene, really lets the hip move about the socket, and works your balance all the way into the arch of your foot, that mid-foot that I was talking about earlier. And then if you'd like to add a rotation to this, you could. So you could go over, use that outer hip to come all the way up, squeeze that outer hip, and then move back and stand up. Over, open it up, and stand up. And then switch sides. Take it over. Maybe just work right here, finding your balance. Next level, going up and down. Finally, if you'd like to add that rotation, taking it up, finding that outer hip, and coming back up. Okay?
I guess I'm done.
Oh, no.
I guess I'm done.
And you
Ready
didn't
for
even fall on
meditation.
your mat.
Okay, let's move toward meditation. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Go ahead and have a seat or lie down, choose your position. As you come into whatever position you choose for your meditation, go back to your breathing. Allow breath to move through the body. And then allow your awareness to shift out of your kind of smaller personhood, the small self, some would call it, take a moment to notice as you release and allow what shows up. Can you broaden your attention to expand a space beyond your physical body? A space in your energetic body. And when and if a thought or feeling or emotion arises, just notice it. Simply witness. There's a calm space that always exists. And when we take time to cultivate that knowing or that space, that's how we attune to all of what life has to offer. We are conscious about co-creating our reality, knowing what exists in these different fields of our bodies, and perhaps where they came from is something to learn, attune to, and sometimes address. Take time in this state, we can always come back to it no matter what life throws at us. Our ability to choose is probably our most powerful power. And when we know what exists in this space, we can have a much more conscious choice. Or even that pause to take a moment to choose instead of just react.
more breaths and notice if you can watch the breath. No matter what arises today, see if you can take 3 deep breaths and choose more consciously your reaction. Okay. Thank you for being here. Namaste.
Thanks, Karen.
You're welcome.